And suddenly another beast, a second, like a bear. It was raised up on one side. The fact that in this case the whole empire that was formed by the Medes and the Persians, the whole empire is being represented by one bear. That's why it says that it was raised up on one side, because the Persians were greater than the Medes. The Persians were stronger. They were working together as one, but the Persians were stronger. So remember also the statue that Nebuchadnezzar saw. The head was of gold, the shoulders and arms and chest was of silver. In this case is represented by the bear. So that's why there were two hands, or the two parts of the chest, as in one shoulder being raised up more than the other. That would be the Persian shoulder, and this the Medes. So it was raised up on one side and had 3 ribs in his mouth between his teeth. That mean having to do with the way it entered and destroyed the kingdom of Babylon. 3 main nations or allies or part of Babylon. Also, well, I guess we could do other connections with the ribs. Yeah, mainly the point is how the Medes and the Persians entered Babylon and took it over, as when a bear destroys its victim and takes its ribs. The ribs cover the heart. Interestingly enough, Babylon received a heart of a human. But the son of Nebuchadnezzar, who was the Belshazzar mentioned in the first verse, happened to be evil. So he wasn't righteous. And the righteousness is what covers or protects our heart. So when that righteousness was taken away by the actions of Belshazzar, then the heart could be destroyed or killed, the heart of Babylon. And that's when the Persians and the Medes took over Babylon, when because of their lack of righteousness they were not protected, and therefore the bear was able to take the ribs, take Babylon, take its life, its heart, because Babylon did not have enough righteousness or strength to protect their heart. Then he says, and they said thus to it, arise, devour much flesh. So it's like the angels in the heavens ordering the empire to take over, and ordering like one would order an animal to eat. After this I looked, and there was another like a leopard, which had on its back 4 wings of a bird. The leopard, as we know, is really fast. So that is to represent how the kingdom of Greece, which is the one being represented by the leopard, would be so quick to conquer the whole world. As we know, Alexander the Great, as they call him, who according to some happened to be a Nephilim, which is possible according to certain stories. When he was 18 years old, he had conquered the known world. So just to have an idea, being 18 years old and to have conquered the whole world, he was already actually I think that is a good example of what I mentioned earlier regarding how no matter how much power, fame, success you have, if you are away from Yahweh, you will always be empty. Alexander had that to experience it. He conquered the whole world when he was just a youngster, a youth, and he saw that there was nothing that came with it. He didn't have the peace that surpasses all understanding. He didn't have love, true love, for he was a homosexual too. He didn't have knowledge, wisdom, even if he may have been intelligent regarding strategy for war. He didn't have Yahweh. He was empty, and that's the way he died. Sad and alone, pretty much. That shows how Yahushua also says that in Matthew 16:26, for what profit is it to a man if he gains the whole world like Alexander the Great did, and some other ones, and loses his own soul. Or what will a man give in exchange for his soul? There's nothing that a man can give in exchange for his soul other than faith in Mashiach and works from that moment on, in order to be seen by Yahweh in a good way and enter through the way, which is Yahushua HaMashiach. So for what profit is to a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Or what will a man give in exchange for his soul? There's nothing that a man can give in exchange for his soul. That's why Yahushua had to give himself for us. That's why Yahweh himself entered the flesh and gave himself for us. For there's nothing that we can give him for ourselves. He had to pay himself for us. He had to pay for us because there's nothing we can pay for ourselves. Because he's the one who made us. How could we pay for our makeup? Mark 8:36, for what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Luke 9:25, for what profit is to a man if he gains the whole world and is himself destroyed or lost? There is no point, there is no intelligence in focusing on this world, even if you get to conquer it, the whole thing. There is no value in this world other than those things that you can do to enter the other world. So if you focus all your strength, whatever Yahweh gives you, into this world, if you invest all of it into this world, you will end up losing your soul. But if you invest everything that you receive in this world, if you invest it in the next world, in eternity, then that's when you actually win. Even if nobody in this world knows you, you will be known in that world by all. Even if in this world you have not a dime on your name, you will have all things in the next world. Yet what profit is it to a man to have all things in this world if nothing in this world can fill you? For only the spirit, which is way different than matter, which is the only thing that money can buy. So going back to Daniel, after this I looked, and there was another like a leopard, which had on its back 4 wings of a bird. A bird, because the way Alexander the Great took over the world was as fast as a leopard that can fly. Imagine that. Not only the leopard is fast, but if he could fly, would be even more amazing. But other than that, this could be taken as a confirmation of what I just said regarding Alexander the Great being a Nephilim. And even one could say in a little, well, another connection with Babylon, at least he who started it. Remember that Babel was started by Nimrod, and Nimrod became a Gibor. There is a possibility that Nimrod either became possessed by the spirit of a Nephilim, or he had also DNA of a Nephilim. So it would be interesting, and just using Nimrod as an example, although there were other kings after, interesting how Babylon had wings of an eagle and Greece had wings of a bird, and birds represent angels. So one could take it as angels were working to help that empire come to power, which no doubt that's true. But in another interpretation could be taken as what I said, an angel coming down like they did in the times of Noah and being able to mate and have children. And then Alexander the Great came as a Nephilim, a hybrid between human and Malach, and that would be a reason why the kingdom had wings of a bird, meaning wings of a Malach. One of the reasons why some people believe that Alexander the Great was a Nephilim, other than the fact that by 18 he was able to conquer the whole world, was that some say he had eyes like those of a goat. So that would be pretty amazing just by itself. And they say that he was a son of Mercury. Well, Mercury, as worshipped by the Romans, Hermes, the messenger of the gods, taught by the Egyptians, Hermes by the Greek, and depending on the religion, the name that they would give that entity, which, according to them, enter into Alexander's mother, and that's how he came to this world. And that entity happens to be like a goat. So there are several important stories or details in history that perhaps could be telling us that he was actually a son, a hybrid son of an angel and a human. So, which had on its back 4 wings of a bird. The 4 wings represented the fact that he was able to conquer pretty much the 4 corners of the earth very quick through the help of Malachim. The beast also had 4 heads, which confirms kind of what I just said, but in the historical sense, those 4 heads represent the 4 men amongst whom the empire was split, or well, yeah, it was parted in 4, and each of those 4 parts of the kingdom was given to a man that was working for Alexander the Great. So when Alexander the Great died, he gave the kingdom, and it was divided into 4, and that's how eventually Antiochus, who represents the beast, came from one of those 4 corners in which the empire was divided. And from one of those 4 is where the beast would appear in the end times, as we will see in Daniel later on. So the beast also had 4 heads, those 4 leaders that took over the kingdom after Alexander the Great. And dominion was given to it. They were able to rule the whole world after Alexander took it over.